Have you ever wondered why some real estate agents perform at ultra-high levels every single year? Welcome to the Unstoppable Agent Podcast with your host, Richard Fournier. Each week, we interview real estate agents from around the world who are constantly ranked in the top 1% of the real estate industry. My mission, share with you their best strategies so that you can create your own peak results as a real estate agent. It's time to become unstoppable.
Well, hello and welcome back to this episode of the Unstoppable Agent Podcast. I'm your host, of course, Rich Fournier. Very excited to have a top 1% producer here in Ontario, Chris Keleher and company from Royal LePage RCR in Collingwood, Ontario.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to a good chat.
I appreciate you spending some time with us. I know you're a really busy guy. You got a young family, running a very large and high producing team out of Collingwood, Ontario. So thank you for spending some time this morning. For some of our listeners who are out of country, out of Canada, Collingwood is, I think it's one of our resort towns. It's a beautiful little town in Ontario. It's near the Blue Mountains, which is our version of Ski Central in Ontario, and Chris has made a hell of a career outside this area.
I certainly have.
Yeah. So thank you for being with us, right? And so, listen, what our clients and our listeners and people across the globe is really, they're trying to understand why. What is the juice that makes an agent an unstoppable agent or a high producing agent in the marketplace? Thousands. I think Ontario is probably the most competitive marketplace on the planet when I look at agent count today, maybe outside of Florida. But why you, Chris? Why you?
Well, first of all, in terms of the number of agents and it being competitive, if you will, I think a big part of that is that I don't feel like I have competition. And you and I both know that, 5% of agents actually produce and, 2% actually make money. Yeah. So I think that's a big deal. And then, the question of how did I become successful in real estate? Like, what is it that I did? I don't think it's what the person's doing in real estate. I think it's who the person is and whatever business they chose. It's those, core attributes that will drive them through.
Now, how long have you been in the business for, Chris?
This is my 12th year.
Fantastic. Now, were you always in Collingwood, or did you start in real estate outside Collingwood?
I was always in Collingwood. I moved here in 2008 from Tokyo, Japan. I was overseas for 7 years, and we just moved here just on a whim. We had bought a place here sight unseen, and we moved here just to stay for a year. But if you remember 2008, the world economy crashed pretty hard, and we lost everything. We had money in Japanese yen and all this stuff. So basically, I had to rebuild with a baby and a pregnant wife, and we got kind of stuck in Collingwood, which was the best thing that ever happened to us.
It's amazing how life works out in the way that's supposed to work out for you.
Yeah.
Was real estate one of those things that you dreamt about doing, or was it a default profession for you?
So funny enough, I took architecture in high school, loved it, and won the award and got the scholarship and stuff for high school, and pretty excited about it. But architecture is super difficult. Saw the counselors from the universities. They're like, it's 6 years. It's not fun. You're going to be in the lab till midnight. And I thought, I want to have some fun at university. I will eventually run a business where I'll hire an architect. I don't need to learn this stuff. I can use the creative design stuff, and I have someone AutoCAD. So at that point, I figured I'd be in real estate in some way. And then over the years, I always thought, hilariously, you may have thought the same thing, many of us do, I'll just get my license. I'll do it for, I was 35. I was like, I'll be retired by 40. This business is easy. I'm going to make tons of money. And, from the outside world, it looks like everybody does a sale and they make millions of dollars per sale. All that is tax-free, and it there's no expenses and such. So, so that's sort of what I thought. And, being my background is education, my wife and I both have masters in education. We're former elementary school teachers. So it was it was ridiculously hard to get a teaching job when we were here. And my wife couldn't work because she's pregnant with a baby. So I thought I just had to scramble to get my license, and scramble and got my license in like 4 months, and then just jumped in head first.
head first. And I'm sure that there were clients lining up for you right away. I mean, you had a huge Rolodex, I'm sure, of people who were clamoring to buy or sell a piece of property with you. I'm sure that's how it worked out.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know anyone in this town, had lived overseas for 7 years, barely really, had contacts here anymore. Parts for my close friends and family. So, no, it was opposite to that. No one knew who I was. And I spent my first year kind of tutoring as well as, chipping away at real estate and building a business from the very start. I would tell when people ask what I do, I would say I have a real estate business, even if it was just me. And I always thought of it as a business and not as I'm a real estate agent, I'm a salesperson. I was always trying to build something that could make me stand out, something that would be different. And for me, that ended up being video at the time. At that point in time, I had this crazy device here.
Right.
It was an iPhone. I was the only one in the entire real estate community that had that, the iPhone ring from iPhone 1.
Yeah, I do remember that.
And I was told by the senior agents, you'll never make it in real estate with an iPhone. You need a BlackBerry. There's no way you can do it with an iPhone. It's just not going to happen.
Such a funny idea, right? Like you'll never make it because you have the wrong phone.
Because people think it's the CRM or it's the phone or it's the computer or it's not. They think it's something that's making them successful, but you have to make the product successful. When people ask me, what CRM do you use, or what's the best CRM to use? I'll say it's the one you fucking use. It's the one you use. If you use your CRM, it's going to work. Doesn't matter how rudimentary it is, right? My CRM happens to be Post-it notes all over the place, and whiteboards and stuff. Right now I'm working really hard to get a proper database together, but it's just fly by the seat of my pants type stuff. My Colby score is 4393 if you understand the Colby score, but the 9's the quick start. So I'm the kind of guy that jumps out of the airplane and turns around and asks for the parachute on the way down.
Got it. And for our listeners right now, so just to kind of give some context to your production, everything's measured in production in real estate, right? That it is what it is. And so I think this year so far to date, you're around 140 million in real estate sold. And last year around, I think you mentioned about 170 million. And so I think that just puts into context that you're running a business that's producing at a very high level with no CRM. So for those agents that I see in the Facebook groups arguing about what tools are the best tools, this is my pet peeve, of course. And I believe that it's the mind that creates everything, and tools are irrelevant unless you use them. And so tips, tools, tricks, lead gen strategies, et cetera, do not produce a business. You produce the business. And so that's my standing on a chair this morning. And so for those agents, please listen to this podcast again. This is really, really important information. And of course, Chris has given freely of his time. So thank you, Chris. So when you get started, and so you decide to jump into video and do some work inside the video platforms that currently exist at the time. I remember 2008, I was still a stockbroker. And so what did you do? Like, did you just start calling people and asking if they want to buy and sell a piece of property? What does that even look like?
I started, well, first I coached the soccer team. I sponsored it. I coached the hockey team. I sponsored all the things that, you learn in real estate will work. To this date, I've gotten zero business from any of those endeavors and just heartache. So, you just I realized you just got to do what you love doing, and then the business is going to come. So that's what I learned after. But what I did just to hustle was I did 2 open houses Saturday, 2 open houses Sunday, every weekend on other people's listings.
Yep.
And I never bitched and moaned about whether or not people came through. Oh, it's a waste of your time. It's a waste of your time. Because people if they take an action in real estate, they want a result immediately. But you're learning and growing and planting seeds and doing all stuff. You're not out there doing stuff. You're not going to go to the gym, do a curl and like, oh my gosh, like I'm enormous right now. You got to do the work and the results are going to come. You got to believe in the work, right? And I don't think people believe in the work, and they're worried about that. So they don't do the open house because that's a waste of 2 hours. So in real estate, people think a lot about a waste of time. And the reality is 99% of the work we do is for free. And the 1% we get paid really well, right? And, that parlays into another buddy of mine who's super, you might know Tom Story. He came to my office to speak a couple of years ago, and he said a similar thing. He was like 99% of the time, people don't need a realtor. 99% of their life, they don't need a realtor.
Yep.
So how are you going to communicate with them in the 99% of the time they don't need you?
That's right. Which
is sort of off topic of what we're saying right now. But I built it on open houses. If no one came in, I was catching up on emails. I was researching MLS. I was prepping something. I was building a website. I was figuring something out. And then when they did come in, I was learning to communicate about real estate without being salesy. I was helping get people's guards down, showing them, something, you can offer value, you have a service. I'm not here just to sell to you. I'm here to help you first, educate you first, give you some knowledge, empower you. And then that sort of started rolling into, and the reality is everyone that came to open house, I didn't make money from, but often they would tell their friends, I met this guy in open house, you should call him. Right. He's really approachable. People are afraid to engage with a realtor sometimes because they're like, I don't want to waste your time. And, I don't want to bother you. You must be so busy. And that's why I hate the term busy. It's one of the reasons, but right. I don't want people that ever think I'm too busy. I'd like to think of myself as productive. And I think whenever someone tells themselves they're busy, it's just an excuse not to do more. It's either an excuse not to do more, or it's self-indulging, like, oh no, I'm busy. And in this industry, like, you go to a realtor open house or something like that, and they're like, well, how are you doing? Are you busy? I'm busy. Like, are you busy? Because I'm like really busy. It's just this whole thing about who's busier than who, right? And I'd like to say, you say everything's measured on production, but it should be measured on time and profit, right? If the reason why I started a team is I was making a ton of money, I was working with a ton of clients, and I hated every bit of it. I hated my day to day. It wasn't enjoyable. I bought my wife a Mercedes. I had, but I wasn't super profitable overall. I wasn't in control of my time. I watched your podcast with Andrew Perry, who I admire what he's built so quickly, in similar speed to what I built. And, he says, I'm always accessible, no matter what. Right. And my phone will be sitting here during our entire interview, and you won't hear a buzz or a ding or a beep or a sound at all, because I'm not accessible. I'm available, but I'm not accessible.
Got it.
Because then when I'm talking to you, my phone, and people say, oh, don't worry, I'm not distracted by that. Or they have like an Apple Watch on, and they're like, oh no, you go ahead while we're eating lunch. I'll just keep looking at no, I'm listening. You can't do two things at once. And I think you need to be there. And it was actually a credit to Mark Ferris about 8 years ago said that to me. That's what he's done with his phone. And I was like, well, if Ferris turned his phone off, I can turn my phone off. And it's not like I forget, oh shit, I haven't checked my phone in hours. Like, we check our phones. When I'm done this, I'll immediately pick up my phone. Yep. And I'll return messages, text messages, let's line things up. But just to react to your phone all the time and give people control became difficult for me when I was a solo agent. And I just needed money, right? We were broke. We were borrowing money for our mortgage at that time. We were really scrambling to get by. So I needed to be accessible and chase the business. But it's not sustainable long term. And as you know, you get burnt out when you give people control of your time.
You said a bunch. I mean, with what you just shared with us there, I could spend 3 hours talking about. And you said something, can I just go backwards a little bit? Something about belief. Belief in the activity that I'm doing is going to produce a result.
Yeah.
Basically what you said, right? And going to an open house, most people won't go to an open house anymore because they don't believe that the activity will produce something long term. So then they make a decision in their mind that, well, it's not going to work anyway, so why bother doing the activity? Just like with online leads, just like with any other activity, there's no sense in me spending time producing a newsletter because people don't read those things today.
Yeah.
Okay, where does those beliefs come from, right? And that's really interesting to me. So you believed that the activity that you do will produce a result regardless of the situation, almost irrational belief systems, right?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't even believing it'll give me a buyer or seller or that result as much as I believed it's going to teach me to talk about real estate. I'm in real estate. I don't have any clients. Right. But everyone that comes in is a prospective client. So I would talk to them and learn to talk to people about real estate, learn to build relationships, I've always been great at building relationships and connecting and relating to people. So that's a strength I had anyways, but there's a nervousness when you're like, I'm not a real estate expert. I just got my license. I'm trying to be an expert, but you're not an expert in the first year. And generally after your first, year or two, you have to go back and do your
Articling, I think at the time.
Articling courses, right? And I remember doing my articling courses, and I thought to myself, holy, what did I just do the last 2 years? I made so much money. Became successful so quickly, but like, I still don't really know what I'm doing. In the same way, like as a classroom teacher, by the time I finished my first year of teaching grade 3, I'm like, did I just do that? Did I just turn grade 2s into grade 4s? What is happening here?
Right.
So yeah, it's a belief. And I also believe in, I kind of visualize everything, and I quantify everything, whether it's units of utility or whatnot. Like, I can tell you how many stairs it is to get from the main floor to the upstairs of my office. And I'm always counting everything. So, in terms of the quantifying and measuring and what's going to come out of it, I'm also visualizing just a row of months. Just imagine a row of months. And if I meet someone and they're not going to buy till next spring, I just put a tack in May. And I know that can be a money-making opportunity in May. Now I have to nourish that until May. And then I keep doing this over time. And what happens is, right now, it seems like you're doing all this work for nothing because they're over here. In real estate, you can feel like you're doing a lot of work for nothing because people want that result. But then so you imagine these trees are growing over here. When you get to May, you're like, wow, I have like 6 oak trees that are already here, right? Everyone wants an oak tree on day 1. Boom, here it is. Here's your $3 million sale. But if you keep planting them, then when you get there, they're going to, you've already done the work for that month. So you got to put all of your, forethought and understanding that it's going to happen, and believe it's going to happen when you get there. And then when you get there, you don't have the ebbs and flows that an Eat Now realtor gets. An Eat Now realtor, everyone's like, oh, it's just the way it goes. Everyone would always say to me, don't worry, it's slow time. It happens to all of us, goes up and down. That's because when they're at the height, they're doing all this money-making activity. They're not doing the lead generating business building activity because they're too busy to do it. And they'll say, I'm so busy. But if you're not doing those core activities all the time, then when you're done making it all those transactions are complete, then you're going to be like, oh shit, I got to start again from here. Now I'm going to do all these things again to generate this, right? But if you're always doing this, then you stay up here, right?
And eventually the energy goes away. Eventually the will to keep on that loop starts to go away, because it's a heck of you really are restarting the engine every single time.
Yeah.
Right.
Have you ever met an angry older realtor?
Yes, a lot.
They've been doing this for 30 years through like 3 recessions, and they're like,
done.
Like, who's this young chump that thinks he knows everything? Right?
100%. It's interesting. You said something about teams and you were unhappy, and I think I've experienced that myself. Always on the run. There is a focus out there today around team building that I think is almost a little bit delusional in some ways, because it requires a lot of consistent effort and organizational skills to create a team, to keep that team fed, to keep them busy. I mean, it does require, I believe, a very structured person to be able to keep all those plates in the air. Is there a push to grow a team too early today? I feel a lot of agents forget that they got to work and produce to be able to feed other people.
So I think there's a ton of layers to that delusional thing you're talking about, which is I don't even think it's about. So you said you have to be structured, and I wish I had a diagram from that Gary Keller book, which shows like a shack with all the wooden. It's just a shack that there's nothing, and then there's a perfect brick house, the window and the door, and that's what you want to have for your business. I still have this shack of just patchwork. So I'm not structured. I'm not organized. I'm a mess all the time in terms of the way my brain functions, but I also function super well in chaos.
Right.
So otherwise it's boring to me. Like, I arrive at everything a little bit late on 2 wheels. I arrive at a meeting, there's fires burning. Everyone's like, he's going to put out the fire, but I go make a coffee, I'll relax. Like, isn't this fire stressing you out? No, I'll solve it when I'm ready.
Right.
So I don't have that. I did have the will and determination. What I think is most important to be a team leader is to be a leader. And how many people in this world are actually leaders? How many people can coach and motivate and connect and communicate on the level you need to be at to actually build a culture and be in a respected leadership position where it's not about the leads, it's not about the money, it's not about what am I getting from you. It's about what I'm giving to you. And that's what I did on the team thing, which is it's not about what they're going to do for me. It's what I'm going to do for them. And it's an ask, don't tell policy. It's I'm going to ask you what I can do for you. You're going to tell me your goals. I'm not telling you how much money you're going to make. I'm not telling you how many hours you're going to work.
Right.
And one of my team members from day one, Leanne Matthews, she has really helped me focus on the value of time. It's not about the money. It's about the time. So we built this team on time first. You must have a vacation planned. You must take time off. You must turn your phone off and just, we got you, forward your phone. Leanne's in Algonquin Park right now. In our second year as a team, Leanne took 8 weeks off. Leanne went to Iceland and she dropped her phone in the ocean or Greenland or something. And I'm like, I imagined her dropping it like this.
For sure.
Gone. Right? So in terms of team, and the other delusional thing is, what is a team?
Right.
I got lots of people, they're like, I bring my cat to work with me. I got a team, right? Yeah. Or like sometimes I talk to my husband about real estate. That's my team.
Right.
And then you got Mark Ferris. He's got a team. He's got 7 offices, 200 agents, and he's a team. That's a brokerage.
Yep.
So what is a team in this industry? Is it, and on the Andrew Perry interview, he mentioned like get on a team, do it for a year, get some leads, do all this stuff, and then figure out if you want to go do it on your own. I think you should figure out if you want to do it on your own first. And one of the presentations that I've done in the past, pre-COVID, because I ended up refusing to do Zoom presentations to brokerages. It's weird to talk to like 100 people and you're like, are you guys there? Is anybody listening?
I did one the other day and it was all dark screens and I just did a presentation to myself. It was really hard.
Yeah. Who am I talking to right now? I'm talking to my own face.
But anyway, yeah.
Really just, there's a couple of things. First of all, find your lane and stay in your lane. But before that, what do you really want out of this business? I don't think anyone decides what they want. I didn't decide what I wanted out of the business until 4 years in. And then I decided what I wanted and what success meant to me. Success isn't 170 million in sales. That's not success, because if you're not enjoying your life, you don't see your kids, that's not success. So I think defining, and also you got to get the ego out of the way. Everyone wants to be the top gun, right? But not everyone can do what I do. And not everyone wants to do what I do or should want to do what I do, right? No one should want this pressure of having a huge payroll. I'm one-to-one agent for admin. Right. So I've always been heavy on admin because I want that support so that the people that are selling real estate can sell real estate, can be there for the client, can do what they're doing. A big thing that has guided me from my strategic coach program is, and I know I'm going to bounce all over the place. You're going to see like, wow, this guy's is that Frank Sinatra does not move pianos. Right. He doesn't sell tickets. He doesn't usher people in. He does one job. And when you do your job and you can get to a point where you can make a list of love, tolerate, hate, and not be afraid to hire someone for that hate. Make a list of things you do every day. Love, tolerate, hate. Everything you hate, hire someone.
So can we stop right there?
Yep.
And we're very similar, by the way. This is how I operate most days. When does that, is there a dollar figure or a transaction number or volume where you kind of say, you know what, now it's time? Now, is that based on your own personal thing at home, your expenses, your liabilities, and your personal stuff? For sure. But is there a number beyond that where then you say, you know what, I'm producing enough to, to start looking at things that I don't like? Because truth is, I think the other agents really got to do things you don't like to do for a very long period of time if you don't have the resources to buy the help.
I think that's a tough one. It's a tough one to break down because I think that's the error basically many entrepreneurs make. Okay. And tons of realtors, and let's define that. Realtors are not entrepreneurs. For sure. Realtors are rugged individuals. They're people that don't want a boss, but don't want to be a boss. Right? Yep. They want just all the freedom in the world. They don't want to manage people. So for the most part, realtors are this like floating in the middle getting into an industry that takes $0 to get into, basically.
Yep.
You don't have to buy inventory. People give you inventory. Here's my house, list it for me. Inventory is free for us.
Yep.
Right? So I lost my train of thought here.
Sorry, so is there a point where, financially, where you're making a decision, what, this is what I love, this is what I hate, and this is what I don't want to do this anymore. I just want to do this.
So people always say, I have a friend in town here, and she's got a big company, Chickpea Pasta. And, she's like, I can't afford to hire that person now. I always hire people when I can't afford them. And I always advertise for the business I want to be, not the business that I am. But people want to wait to make the money first, and then they'll do that. But the reality is, when you start taking out the things you hate and taking that time, a couple things happen. First of all, you have more time to do the things you love, which is what brings business. Processing paperwork does not build business, right? So when you have more time to do the money-making things, your business grows. So what happens is you think you're getting out in front of it in a bad way because you're nervous. But within a month of hiring someone, then you're already making more money, and that becomes easy. Everyone thinks, well, and I mean, back in the day, it was like hire someone, it's 40 grand. When I say back in the day, I mean 3 years ago.
Right.
Now it's like, if you could get someone for 60, jump on it, but you're probably gonna have to pay 70 out of the gate. So the reality is, people don't think of two things. They don't think about, first of all, someone walks in the door, I don't give them 70 grand like this, right? You're giving them $25 an hour roughly, or whatever it works out, $30 an hour. So if you think about, I'm going to pay this person for a week, it's going to cost me $1,000 for the week. I'm doing the math around that. Maybe that's too much, but it's not very much money. So just go week by week and see how much more you can get. And at any given time, you can be like, can't afford to do anymore. I hired someone for 12 hours a week, I think, to start, 15 hours a week. And I was just like, I'm going to commit to this because it's going to give me more and more time, and I'm going to learn to figure that out. So I think you got to get out in front of it. If you wait for a certain amount of stuff, I think you need to figure out what you're good at and find a way to do more of that and hire out the other stuff. And you got to take that risk. If you don't make yourself uncomfortable, you're never going to grow. And people don't want to be uncomfortable, but discomfort is growth, right? So that was one side of it. There's another thing that I was going to say, but again, I fly all over the place.
No, that's great. I think
you have to keep bringing me back in here.
No, you're absolutely fantastic. I so appreciate you being here. So there's a gap between knowing and doing. I think a lot of agents know what to do on a day-to-day basis. You seem to have been able to fill the gap between knowing and actually executing on an idea. What would you say is the juice or the reason or why you're able to actually do the thing that you say you're going to do? And there's a lot of depth to this question. To execute and say, I am going to do this, where most agents will go, wonder what's on YouTube. What's going on Facebook? What's happening over here? Oh, there's lint floating in the air. Why are you able to execute on an idea? That's what I'm super interested in.
So I would say, don't get me wrong, I'm like that as well. If you look at my screen time, I'm my own worst enemy. I get in my own way. You can't beat yourself about it. I'm a procrastinator. I could be 10 times as successful if I could just dial it in and find the right thing. Just, you can see in this interview, I'm like this. That's my whole day, right? I'm chasing squirrels all day long. So I think it's just that commitment that I'm going to do it, and I'll put in the extra time. So if the day got off the rails, then 8 o'clock, I'm back to my desk and I'll put 4 hours in.
Okay.
I'll put 4 hours in where the phone's not ringing generally. And you can really focus on what you're doing. So I think there's that, but there's also fear and not being afraid of being afraid. I think that's a big thing. So I'm not going to say that, oh, I'm endlessly confident and nothing will ever break me and I have zero insecurities and I'm always going to succeed, but I'm not afraid to fail. I'm not afraid when I feel afraid, right? I'm going to press through anyways and believe in myself and believe that if you just keep going, we're going to get through this, right? This too shall pass. Whether it's the greatest time of your life, this too shall pass. Whether it's the worst time of your life, this too shall pass. If you just keep putting one foot in front of the other. And I think that's sort of what it is for me. I mean, I grew up in government housing. We didn't have very much money. Often we didn't know if there was going to be money for groceries. And, for me, I didn't really realize that until I went to middle school and I went to the Valley's Junior High. Which you can imagine was penny loafers and polo shirts and people going to their cottage on the weekend. Yep. And, I started to feel like, oh, wow, I'm a little bit different than these people. And that sort of motivated me. Like, I'm not going to be here anymore. Like, I'm getting out of here. And so that fear, first of all, there's a fear of being back there, but there's a drive to never be there. There's a drive to never have my family see that, to never have them wish they had this pair of shoes, or wish they could go to that concert, or wish they could have like an ice cream. Right? No, we don't. Can I get fries and gravy at the hockey rink? No, we barely afford hockey. We barely got you here.
Right.
So
right.
I think there's a mixture of, there's something that I do differently with fear. I'm not sure I've figured that out, but I'm not afraid of fear. I'm not afraid of being uncomfortable.
So do you ever fear like the idea of what other people are thinking about you while you're doing what you do? Because I know that stops a lot of people, Chris, a lot. Yeah. They're always worried about what the next person's thinking about them.
Yes. Comparison is the death of happiness, right?
That's something you experience.
What's that?
Is this something you experience or no?
So I think I experienced it in a very different way. I think that at a very early age, I shed that in terms of recognizing that the people that are going to know me are going to love me. Right. People that don't know me are going to make their own version of me in their head, and they're going to decide who I am to them, and they're going to make their judgment. And, I say to my kids, there's a billion people in this world. They're not all going to love you, and they don't even know who you are. So pick the ones that matter, and, don't ignore the ones that don't. It's not that I don't care what anyone thinks. I'm interested in what you think. I'd like to know. It could help me be a better person. Chris, you were a little bit terse, or, you acted aloof, or you did this. Because I'm kind of like an introvert extrovert. So people that have seen me on my extrovert high and then see me all socially awkward and weird and not know what to do, they're like, what is going on with Keleher? I'm like, well, I'm just in a place where my life juice is already out. I don't know how to talk to people right now. I'm not sure what my goals are. So it's hard for me to be in this social situation. So I think I lost my train of thought on where I'm going with this. But overall, I'm very interested in what people think, but it doesn't matter to me. I always think to myself, losers focus on winners and winners focus on winning. And also, lions don't concern themselves with the opinion of sheep. So if you're worried about someone who's out there judging others or thinking poorly of others, you should have a feeling like, I want to help. I'd like to educate. I'd like to talk. Not like, I'm going to judge that person for being a bad person because I'm perfect. I do everything right. I never make mistakes. That person is so insecure, they don't matter. So why would I care about that person? When I go on stage and I look out and I see 300 people, sure, I'm a little sweaty. I'm nervous. What if I mess up? I don't know. I can embarrass myself. What if I don't say all the things that I want to say in the right way?
Right.
But the thing that calms me is all of you are afraid to be here right now. So if any of you have a judgment on me, I know you're afraid to do this anyway. So I just cleared my mind of any concern of what you think. So it's not that I don't care what people think, but I also don't have a desire to be liked. I enjoy being liked, but I don't have a desire to be liked because I have a self-assurance that I know I'm a good friend, a good father, a good husband, a good leader, a good colleague. I know that I have value to offer to people, and I focus on the value I have to offer, not the things I need to improve. Because I know the things I'm good at, and I know the things that I need to work on. Right. And the things that I'm not super proud of, or maybe I'm a little embarrassed about, or whatever it is. We all have these things. So I just focus on these things. And if you're willing to get close enough and see the good I have to offer, we can be friends. If you're not, I'm fine with that. And if you want to, when you don't get close and don't want to become friends, talk shit about me, that's fine too. Like, what does that matter to me? Why am I going to? I always think about, who are you giving your life juice to and who deserves it? Right. So if I'm wondering what you think and I'm feeling some negative emotion about how you're feeling, I'm giving you power of my emotions. Fuck that. Yeah. Emotions are hard enough to control on a daily basis in yourself. If there was no outside, if you had to sit in a room by yourself all day and you'd be like, man, I got a lot of thoughts in here. How do I? And I'm now going to give you some power. I'll give you some more power. You can take a bit of this. Then you're giving away control of your emotions. And my big thing is I need to be in control of them. And I have no intention to hurt anyone. If I do, it's an accident and I can talk to them and we can sort it out. But I have no intention. I always have good intentions. If I'm too direct and terse and that puts you off, then we can talk and I can learn about you so I know how to communicate with you. But I'm just like, I get straight to the point. I'm very quick. I don't have time for the, if you want to tell me some instructions to go take action and there's 10 points of instruction, the first 2 better be super important because I'm not listening to the next 8. I'm already going to do the thing. Right. Take the fluff out so I can process things quickly. So going all the way back, I don't think I have the same thing that, I want to be liked, or I think I should be liked. I think you should find good in me. And if you don't, that's fine. How many friends can I have?
100%. Well, 700 from your last party.
And listen, when I have a party for 750 plus people.
For our audience, we were trying to get together with Chris a few weeks ago, and he ended up having a party for 300, turned into 700. So I think something like that. So the reason why I bring this up, I know some of our audience always wants to learn about tools, tips, tricks, lead gen strategies, landing pages, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But what I have found is that they're absolutely irrelevant till you start getting your thinking right. And that's why I asked this question, is because you have it dialed in. And there is a common denominator, Chris, and you're nailing the common denominator for me. And there is that common thinking that seems to create really great results. If you were an agent starting today, lots out there today, and they're all trying to figure out what's next and how to do it and what's the best way. Today, Chris gets his license.
Yeah.
What would you do in this moment?
I think it's the best time to get your license because I got my license in 2009, didn't really start practicing until 2010. So 2009 was just teaching and having a license and trying to figure out what I'm going to do. And then 2010, I just said, you know what, I can't teach and do real estate. It's not going to work. I need all my energy in it. So I'm just going to take the chance here. I'm going to do this. So it's a great time to get into real estate. I think the people that got into real estate in 2020, 2021, it's over. They're going to be like, it's not sunny and gorgeous every single day in my life. This is so weird. There's rain, clouds.
People just aren't calling me to do a deal.
Yeah. So advice, I guess I wouldn't have said this at the beginning of the interview, but it's belief. Believe that the work you're doing is going to pay off and keep following through on that work. It's going to happen. You got to keep going and you're going to get there. Put one foot in front of the other. I've done a lot of running in my life and trail running, and people are like, how do you do like 25K trail runs? I'm like, I just put dirt behind me.
Right.
Just put dirt behind me. I'm not worried about running 25K. I'm worried about that route and that rock and that route and that rock. Eventually, I'm going to get to the 25K. I don't need to worry about every step and how I'm going to get to the 20. You might hear my dogs barking in the background.
No, it's okay.
When I say my dogs, my wife's dogs, they just live in my house. And
right.
She should definitely be quiet now.
Yeah, I thought my dog was my dog, and turns out it's my wife's dog now.
Yeah. So the belief is a big thing, but what I'm going through right now is something that I need to. It's irritating that they're barking.
Does it? You know what? It's all good. This is our. Honestly, it doesn't.
Don't worry. I'm gonna get back on track. I see my wife's taking care of the dogs. So the second thing is that what I'm correcting right now is the foundation of my business.
Okay.
So there's the belief part, and then there is who are you in this business and what do you want to be? How much money do you want to make? How many hours do you want to work? How much time do you want off? How available do you want to be? What does success look like to you? Write it down. Don't be afraid of it. Right. When I was in my, I think probably my second or third year of real estate, I put $250,000 on just put it on my wall. I want to look at it and see it every day. And I remember one of the senior agents in my office came by and she goes, "You're so cute. So cute." Right. And I was like, oh, and I mean,
put a chip on my shoulder right away.
It wasn't even that. It was just like, she saw that after being in real estate for 20 years. She saw that and went, oh, that's cute.
Right.
So there's the belief part, and then there's the make a plan, and then there's get your shit in order early when it comes to your contact management. Enter every lead, enter all the information, put all the notes, pick a CRM. It doesn't matter which one, pick one. Just use it every day. Set tasks, put in anniversaries from the very beginning. When you have 6 clients to manage them. Because when you have 1,000 clients to manage and you're going back and trying to populate all of your clients, find out what deal they bought. Right now, we're going through a database of 3,000 people to put, oh, there's no email here. Look, there's a missing address here. We don't even know what they bought. What's their phone number? Oh my goodness, who's related to who? It's such a scattered mess, right, that if you do it from the onset, you're going to have a repeat and referral business that it just takes all the weight off your shoulders. There's nothing better than this person would love to work with you because their friend told you. So right. Go ahead, work with Keleher.
A handoff, right? It's a handoff. Yeah. It's not a convincing game anymore. It's a handoff.
So I would say those three things.
Okay.
You have to believe that the work you're doing for nothing is going to pay one day. And it's going to pay in bulk when it actually happens, right? It's going to pay in bulk when it happens. You work out and do all your stuff and you hustle and sacrifice everything. And then you get into the majors and your first contract is 60 million. You're like, well, that was worth it. Although I gave up my childhood and I gave up all this stuff, high school, it works when you get there if you have a goal. Second thing is, what do I want to do? Like people in real estate, let's use the sports analogy. They're like, I'm going to play baseball. And you're like, what position? You're like, any position that I can play. Just let me play. I just want to play. Well, what do you want to play? What team do you want to play for? What does it look like for you? And then start early with lining up your business in a systematic, structured way. Even if it's not for you, force yourself. Like it's not for me, so I never did it. But you got to force yourself. That's something that if I could start again, man, every single client I had, I would write down every detail. I would track everything. I would have spreadsheets. I would know where my business comes from, all that stuff.
And with technology today, it's not that difficult. It's a little bit of time.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's a glass of wine and at the end of the day and type it in.
Yeah. You just gotta, and what I would do is it's not that much. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. Then when you finally sit down to do it, I'm like, I got 30 days worth of this to do. Where do I start? And then the procrastination builds and you're not doing it. So I think that would be the three things that I think could really help. And then of course, don't give an F what people think. Read The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck for sure. And read it and think about it. Then read it again and really like think about the fucks you give and who you give them to.
The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
Yeah. Mark Manson.
Yeah.
And also get those little things put in your inbox every day where you read like James Clear or something. It's not hoity-toity fluff stuff. It's real. It's real stuff. Because you got to get your head in the right place, right? I went through this time where I'd wake up in the morning and I'd be like, man, my self-talk. You don't say it out loud, so it doesn't matter, right? My self-talk is, fuck, I got so much to do today. How am I going to get through? Look at my to-do list. Oh my gosh, I got to call this. That self-talk is going to destroy you. It's going to cause so much stress. But if you figure, what's that?
It creates.
Yeah. So I didn't want to have that. I want to be like, this is why I'm getting up in the morning. This is why I'm doing what I'm doing. This is why I enjoy what I'm doing. Just change I had this little thing that I would read every morning that, why do you get up in the morning? Right. And it's because I want to give my kids free education. I want to learn and grow every day. I want to create financial stability for my family. And every mistake that I make is free opportunity for my kids to teach them. So that's why I'm getting up and doing this. I'm not getting up and being like, oh my gosh. So I think the self-talk is huge in every day, in everyone's life, no matter what, because you don't realize those little seeds, every little thing can be so damaging. And I think about white paint and black paint and the negativity, which you don't think is negativity. You think you're just thinking about your day. It's negativity, right? When you're like, oh, this day is going to be so hard. I'm so busy. Oh my gosh, it's negativity. Black paint, white paint is positivity. I take white paint and I put a drop in the black paint. You never know it's there. I put 10 drops, stir it up. You never know it's there. Put one drop of black paint in the white paint, paint's ruined. You can't reverse that. So you got to think about your mindset in everyday life. And in real estate, when you're getting pulled in a million directions, it's death by 1,000 cuts, death by 1,000 no's. You got to keep your head straight. And I think that comes back to the belief part and sort of what you're doing. And then I would say also, from the very start, create a little networking group, whether they're local agents or you have agents outside. Once I started creating these mastermind groups and having 5 agents come to my office, you may not really know what you're going to get out of it. You get a nugget. You're always going to get a nugget. Go to a conference. Oh, it's all bullshit. You know what? You listen for 8 hours and you get one piece that's good. Take that and go. Right? You got to make sure that you're not. And you also can't be afraid that no one can ever do you, right? And
this is gold. I can't wait.
And Matt, listen, like I could do Dancing with the Stars like Andrew Perry, or I could do videos like Tom Story, or I could be humorous like Matt Leonetti, but those aren't me, right? You can't same yourself to different. So no one can ever be you. So one thing that this is a Matt Regan thing, another huge producer and guy that I network with and mastermind with. He said to me at one point, I'll give you my playbook and I'll still beat you on Sunday. So I'm not afraid for people to know what I do because they can't do me. I'll give them the tools, but they're not going to do it, right? So you can mastermind with people that are competitors with you in your market. There's enough business for everyone. The best people are on top anyways. We know that most people, we have like 1,200 agents in my area, probably 1,150 don't make any money.
Yep.
Right? So don't worry about the competition. Be the competition, right?
You know what? I believe if an agent today is listening to this podcast, they should listen to it 6 times, make some notes, and actually implement and execute and believe what he just told you.
Quit flirting. Come on, geez.
All right. And now I'm a fan. I'm an hour away. I'm a fan. Chris, I appreciate you. I appreciate the information that you give us today. We try to keep these podcasts a little bit under the 45-minute mark. The mind can only take, right, what the butt can take. And, and I appreciate it. What is the best way for someone to get in contact with you if they ever want to pick your brain or maybe come work with you?
I mean, if you have the internet, you can Google Keleher, Collingwood. There you go. And
you know what? By the way, love the website, love the branding, love the look. Very organized, to the point, and it's visually stimulating. It's a great site.
Yeah, we just rebranded. I love what we've done. The look, the feel. We wanted to look like who we are. We wanted to have that approachable, crisp, clean, professional look. And shout out to Artifact, the company that did it, because they blew the doors off.
Yeah, my wife and I did mine 8 years ago, which I need to update.
We were like, my wife and I, in tears. They did a brand presentation to us, and we were like, "Oh my gosh, that is us! Holy, you're right."
The brand is great, and it's actually a brandable brand. Like, you can take that brand and do a lot with it. Uh-huh. That was my viewpoint. I actually was driving through Collingwood last week, and I saw some of your signs. And I went, "There's the brand. It looks amazing." So, great job.
Yeah, and it's supposed to represent our culture and who we are. That we're here. We're smart. We're fun. We're having fun doing what we're doing. And very
intentional for our audience. You understand, if you can hear that, very intentional to the details and the focus and the vision of what they're trying to exhibit to the consumer. And it's not just wake up one morning and, I'm going to go do real estate. No. Spend some time thinking about who we want to be. How do we want to show up? How do we want to serve? Right.
And I know we should cut off for 50 minutes, and that can be done in advance, but it can also happen over time, which is different for me, because when I started this, I took my name, Chris Keleher, I put the word "the" in front, I put the word "team" after it, I put a little roof on the top, and I put "real estate done differently" underneath. And I was like, yep, it'll be black and white, it's fine, that'll be good. But I always wanted to redo that brand. Yeah. And that was something that I waited till I had the money to do. I wanted to make sure that I did it right. I didn't half-ass it. I wanted to make sure we invested in really, really going through a 1-year process of rebranding.
Wow. 1 year.
One year of who you are, what do you stand for, interviews, breaking it down, what's the look and feel, here's different logos, what's going to the public. Like, there's so much we did, and I'm glad we spent the money and took the time, because we have a result we love.
And you know what? You've really narrowed down how you want to be in the game of real estate and who do you want to serve through that process. A year to define your brand.
It was defining and designing
but that's what I mean. Like a whole year of internal work, actually crafting the language and the belief system around that language to create something. That's why you're in the top 1%, Chris. Appreciate you very much. Thank you very much for giving of your time. And I wish you nothing but the best in the future.
Thank you so much. I'm sure we'll talk again now that we've been introduced. So all the best to you. Thanks for having me on. It was a great time, and I look forward to further chats.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it. Have yourself a great day.
You too.
Thanks for tuning in to today's show. If you like what you've heard and you're interested in creating a quantum leap in your real estate business, here's what I want you to do next. Head over to www.theunstoppableagentprogram.com and book an appointment to speak with our team. We'll get on a Zoom call with you for about 30 minutes and get you crystal clear on 3 things. Number 1, what do you really want out of your life and your business? Number 2, what is not working for you today? And number 3, the exact mindset strategy you should be using to create massive change in these areas. Remember, creating massive, consistent results in your real estate business does not happen by itself. You need expert guidance to make it happen. We're helping clients all over the world create peak results in their real estate business. To see if we can help you do the same, head over to www.theunstoppableagentprogram.com. We'll chat soon.